Good morning, class, and welcome to this session of International Business Environment. In our last week, we were discussing regarding microenvironment, and we were also discussing what are the aspects that are being included under microenvironment, and we had discussed already regarding the first two, that is customers and suppliers. So moving forward in this session, we'll try to understand who are competitors and how does the action of competitors and the decisions that are taken by our competitors or the strategies that they make, how does these things affect our business organization in particular. Now, whenever there is healthy competition between rival firms, that would lead to innovation, and innovation always leads to expanding the product range, and thereby it builds a better relationship with customer. That is to tell, no matter there might be rivalry or competition between our organization and some other organization, but if that competition is a healthier one in the long run, or as when we take the whole, it is definitely going to help both the organization. Now, you might have seen the rivalry among firms like Coke and Pepsi. Now, they have a rivalry among themselves with the main intention of capturing maximum market share, because both the companies they are delivering similar products, and in today's or contemporary business environment, or in other words what we call as globalized world, domestic firms they are facing cutthroat competitions from big MNCs, because multinational companies they are serving a very wide range of customers with very wide variety of products. So if at all, now that you are one such company which used to produce or manufacture goods for your customers, and until now there was no any globalization, and now that if at all your country decides to open up, and if some other strong MNCs comes and starts doing business in our country, definitely the domestic company is going to face a severe cutthroat competition. Now, one among the more, many cutthroat competition that is there, one we can name is brand competition. Here we can also observe that maybe it is a national company or a domestic company or a brand. These national brands and international brands, they are doing all the things possible or striving for winning the large customer, or what we call as maximum market share. For example, we can take into consideration the market of Android phones. Now, for a customers to go and buy for Android phones, he has n number of choices. To name some, it could be Nokia, Samsung, Micromax, Lava, Apple. Now, among these, some of the companies might be domestic in nature. Some are definitely international brand. So there arises something called as cutthroat competition. Now, Analyzing competitors is crucial for business. Now, when you analyze customers, it would help in identifying its own weaknesses against customer. The first one is we would understand what are our weaknesses in when we compare ourselves with our competitors. Not only that, we should also understand what are the weaknesses of our competitors when we compare ourselves with our competitors. Now, moving forward, it will also helps in formulating such strategies which would help in combating the competitions that we are facing in the world market. Now, we can not tell that this competitions or competitive market is not necessary or it is a threat for the domestic industries. Now, competition should necessarily be present in any of the business environment because that would ensure availability of desired products to the customers and at affordable price. We tend to tell that because whenever there is no competition and whenever an organization has monopoly, it might increase the price to whatever extent it wishes for, and it will not go in for some kind of innovations also, because as a monopoly organization it would always know that no matter what product I'm going to produce, the customer has only one option of buying it. But when competition is present, what happens is that now, if at all we tend to increase our price, the competitor might come with the strategy that and with the strategy of decreasing the prices and thereby snatching all my customers to their side. And this, cutting of prices would go until that point wherein both the organization can no more cut the price on the one hand. On the other hand, the companies would start coming up with new products, it will start doing innovation so that and somehow they can grab the customers from their competitors. The next one is market intermediaries. Now, market and market intermediaries are two different things. Here, market intermediaries represent all those people who would, you know, or people or agency for that matters, which connects the company with its final consumer. Now, for any business, it is difficult to make products available to each and every segment of customer. Now, these intermediaries, they play a crucial role for maybe promotion, selling, or even distribution, and most of the times it is distribution of the goods. Now, who are included in this market intermediaries? Under this, people whom we call as agents, could be brokers, a wholesaler, a retailer, and also the distribution companies, which helps our business to make our product available to the existing customer, and also as well as finding new customers are called or are included in market intermediaries. Now we might have a doubt that here we are trying to tell that market intermediaries helps in retaining the present customer and also gaining the new customer. But the question might be, aren't these the job of promotion department or sales department? Now this what happens is that no matter how much effort we put, it is those people who are connected to the final customers would have a large amount of impact on the customers. Now, most of the times, these intermediaries will always work for some part of profit that they are earning or some kind of income. So, it is in the practical world or real world, we can tell without any doubt that when there are two kind of same products, the more the profit that the intermediaries can earn from a product, the more they would influence or tend to sell those products to the final consumers or the customers. Now moving forward, let us go towards macro environment. Now, what are this macro environment? Now, we already know the meaning of that. So, let us try to understand. Yes, before that, I would like to tell. And from this session, what happens is your attendance would depend upon the question I asked to you and the answers that you would be giving me. You can either unmute yourself and answer to me, or you can answer in the chat box. Now it depends upon me whom I would call and ask a question. If that person is present in the meeting, you would either unmute yourself and tell, or you would post a comment in the chat box. So unless until you answer, your attendance won't be marked. And so please see to that it is not that you either enter the meeting at the beginning and leave it, or that you see to that you enter at the end. And even I would be taking attendance in between whenever I would like to take it. So please don't misuse the freedom that you have got. Moving forward, according to Philip Kotler, a macro environment includes forces that creates opportunity and poses threats to the business units. It includes economic, demographic, natural, technological, political, and cultural environments. Now, whatever has been said in the definition, we have already discussed in our previous session. Now, Hill and Jones tends to give one more definition which tells that the macro environment consists of the broader economic, social, political, legal, demographic, and technological settings within which the industry and the business are placed. Now, under pestle analysis, we already studied all these factors, but do remember that I am not giving the same explanation. What I had, what explanations I had given in earlier sessions are very, very different from what explanation I would be giving now. Because the factors are same, do not skip listening or do not skip studying it. So since the subject is very, very easy and it is easy to understand, definitely whenever I would assess your internals, it would be very tough this time. Okay, now we shall see what are the factors that are included under macro environment. The first thing and the most important thing is economic environment. Now, it goes without telling that the success and the survival of each and every business enterprises depends fully on its economic environment. Now, this economic environment refers to all the factors related to the areas of maybe production, distribution, income, and wealth. They have a bearing on the function of the business. Now, we shall see what are the main factors that have a great influence on business organization and their operation. The first one is economic condition. Okay, under this there are factors like maybe gross domestic product, gross national product, balance of trade, balance of payment, inflation, poverty, it could be savings and investment, international debt, per capita income, foreign exchange reserve, foreign trade, capital market, and such, which would have direct influence on the business or on the economic conditions of the business. The next one is economic policies. Now these economic policies, goes without telling, would be framed by the government. So some of the aspects which are under this is industrial policy, fiscal policy, monetary policy, foreign investment policy, and export import policy. Now, industrial policy refers to all those policies that the government would be taking to push, to promote, or help a set of industry or the whole of the industry. Usually, any government of any economy it might be, they would be taking industrial policy mainly on a part or a whole of manufacturing sector. Now, there are two other, fiscal policy and monetary policy. Fiscal policy refers to the policy that the government takes in coming up with or deciding what should be the interest rate or what should be the lending rate of the financial institution. Usually the government decides this or controls this with the aim of controlling the inflation. The next one is monetary policy. Now, monetary policy refers to all those decisions or policies taken by the government which would help in bringing all the money that the government needs for the spending on the economy. Next is the foreign investment policy. It decides how much investment we as a nation could invest somewhere else, and also how much investment could be made from outsiders in our country. Next one is export import policy, or what we tend to call as EXIM policy. Now, the government keeps on changing this policy from time to time in view of development that is being going on in the economic scenario, maybe in political expediency, and also according to the changing requirement. Now, it is the duty of every business that it has to function strictly within the policy framework and respond to the changes there within. Now coming for economic system, now maybe any economic system that is present in the world, it is primarily governed by three economic systems. It could be capitalistic economy, socialistic, or mixed economy. Capitalistic economy represent that economy wherein all the investment would be made from the side of private people. Socialistic economics speaks that whatever property, whatever the country has is owned by the government of that particular country, or the investment would be made from the government of that particular country. Now, mixed economy is such an economy where both the private and public is present, either together or individually in every aspect of the economy. And India has adopted to the mixed economic system, which definitely implies the coexistence of both public sector and private sector. Now, we should always remember that this economic environment that we discussed may put constraints or it may offer opportunity to business. Now, moving forward, the next one is social and cultural environment. Now, when we speak of social environment, it consists of customs and traditions of the society in which our business organization exists. Now, culture refers to maybe knowledge, belief, art, moral, law, customs, habits. It could be capabilities of individual acquired from the society. Now, all this factor, or in other words, the social and cultural environment of nation determines the value system of the society, which in turn affects the functioning of business. Now, it is said that whatever strategy a business organization takes, it could be any of the strategy, it should be appropriate in the social cultural environment, because this is that part wherein our customers are included, and it is those who would affect the business in the long run. For example, now Nestle has a very large variety of instant coffee to satisfy different nations' taste. Maybe those who have experienced the taste of Nestle coffee in this country and some other country, they might know the difference between the taste of the coffee that are being produced. They definitely do a very good market, you know, analysis, and based on the taste and preference of customers in different countries, they come up with different products for their customers. Now, moving forward, the next one is political environment. Now, it could be some of the cultural and aspects of socio cultural environment, or the aspects of economic environment. All these directly or influences in deciding how the policies of the government would be. Now, the government or the political environment constitutes all the factors which relates to the government affairs. It could be in terms of type of government in the power, the attitude of the government towards, you know, different groups of societies, or the changes in the policies that they would be making. Now, all these things will have an immediate, not only immediate, but also great impact on the business transaction. So, it becomes necessary that whenever we enter a new economy or a new business environment, a businessman or the organization should scan their environment very carefully and make changes accordingly. Now, some of the aspects of this political environment could be present of political system, that is to tell which is the ruling party of one particular country, how is the constitution or the constitution of the country is, how much of the intervention is being made by the government in the business, what is the profile of political leaders. Now, this becomes important from the point of view to understand what are the ideology of an individual political leader who would be affecting the policies, or from the aspect that how does the ideology of the ruling party would have effect on the political policies, because it is their ideologies and it is their propagandas which would be affecting the political environment at large. And what are the foreign policies that the government is taking? Now, all this affects the business environment in a very, very fast way and also in a very wide way. Now, moving forward, the next one is legal environment. Now, as the name tells, it includes all the laws and regulations passed by the parliament, which should definitely be considered by all the business organization. To name some of the important legislation that organization as a corporation or corporate sector should look is maybe Companies Act of 2013, the Foreign Exchange Management Act, Trademarks Act, Consumer Protection Act. Okay, now there are many different such legislation that we will have to analyze, and based on that we should also see that whether our strategies are according to this legal environment, or is there any deviation which we should be changing. Now, all this legal environment, they provide opportunities to business, but there shall be some kind of restriction. Now, for that matter, we can take into consideration the Companies Act of 2013. Now, the Companies Act of 2013 has replaced the old Companies Act, which was given in 1956. Okay, and it came to effect from 12th September 2013. Now, this Companies Act of 2013 contain comprehensive provisions to govern all listed and unlisted companies in the country. Now, moving forward, the next one is demographic environment. Now, all aspects of political environment present in political system, could be it like whatever we mentioned earlier, will have some effect on this also. Now, speaking about demographic environment, it refers to the factors which are related to the density of population, location, age of the people, the gender, the race, and occupation of the population. Now, as the name suggests, it basically studies the human population living in an area. Now, whenever we study demographic environment, it provides the base for decision making and policy formulation. Moving forward, the next one is technological environment. And it goes without telling that in today's fast moving business environment, technology is a most important element of the macro environment. Now, this environment refers to changes taking place in methods of production, use of new equipment and machinery to improve the quality of the product. Now, a business organization should always closely monitor the technological changes taking place in the industry so as to, cope according to the changes of the competitive environment. Now, some of the aspects of technological environment is innovations and improvements, scientific improvements, could be development in the IT sector, import and export of technology, technological advancements in competitors, etc. Now, internet and telecom system has changed the whole world. Now, all these changes started to come when the internet and World Wide Web has made e-commerce possible. Now, this is one such thing where we could have a business communication to communicate and collaborate beyond the boundaries of our country. So, understanding this becomes very, very important. Now, we shall move forward and try to understand, changing dimensions of business environment. We shall try to understand how there has been a change in the business. Okay. Now, business environment of a country is never constant or static. It will always be in a dynamic state and it affects by a number of different factors. Now, it goes without telling, there are factors that affect or constitute business environment and that keep on interacting with each other over the period of time. Now, except in the case of emergency or crisis, changes in business environment are not sudden, but it is always a gradual change. Now, much business organization throughout the world are able or capable to predict and forecast the changes on the basis of their past experience and also wisdom. Now, such organizations are able to reposition themselves and also exploit the business opportunities that are being present in the business environment. And we should always remember that, on the other hand, those organizations which are not able to understand the present environment and anticipate the future changes face the danger of marginalized competition. Now, though we can tell that based on their past experience and wisdom, we can understand the business environment, the changing business environment, and predicting it is not a easy task. Now, this task of analyzing requires a cadre of professional business economists or the managers who have a very thorough knowledge of behavior of macroeconomic variables and who are capable of estimating the impact of these changes on business environment condition. Now, not only that, an appropriate understanding of the interaction between these different layers of business is essential, but at the very same time, they need to understand the relationship between economic and non-economic environment. Now, for that matter, the various facts, data, and trends have to be carefully studied and analyzed and researched to scan business environment over a particular period of time. Now, unfortunately, most of the firms do not have the adequate resource and the expertise in this regard and always depend upon the reports of the rating agencies, could be newspaper or any other journals, economic research institutions, or even on the initiative understanding of a few top level managers. Okay. Now, the factors which influence changes in business environment are, the first one is the changing government policies. Now, this is mainly because the political environment keeps on changing. Okay, and as a promoter or as a head of a business organization, the changing in fiscal policy or monetary policy affects the expenditure level and the structure in terms of maybe taxation. All these things affects business organization in particular. Yes. Now, regarding the changing government policy, we have discussed both when we discussed the pestle analysis also, and also when we were discussing the macro environment. Now, the next factor is the variation in growth rate. The first one was changing government policies. The second one is variation in growth rate. Now, performance of the various sectors in any economy determines the growth rate. Now, any economy which has a growth rate of about 7% or more leads to appreciable increase in income and aggregate demand. However, the changing growth rate from year to year would bring in the corresponding changes in our business environment, and the business firms needs to adjust to these changing scenarios. Now, along with all this overall growth rate, the sectoral growth from different segments could be like agriculture, infrastructure, and banking also changes now depending upon the sectoral environment conditions. Now, these different sectors of the economy are, however, never segmented or not independent. That is to tell, a change in one sector will definitely have its implications on the other. Now, moving forward, the next one is changing changes in market structure and competition. Now, in every economy, different products and industry groups face different market structures. Now, it depends upon the state of competition that is present in the economy. Now, this market structure basically depends upon many factors and number of buyers and sellers who are present in the market. It also depends upon the freedom of entry and exit from the market, the independence that is there between the firm, the mobility of resources, and also the availability of market information, to name a few. Now, markets for products like detergents and ready made garments are monopolistically competition. On the other hand, an oligopolistic condition prevails in market for automobiles, aviation, refrigerators, or could it be air conditioning also. Now, we should also remember that the trade liberalization and import competition are further factors which impacts the competition level. Now, along with all these things, the policy of government towards foreign direct investment, the policies towards MNCs and public sector undertaking are making economy more competitive and also more efficient. Now, moving forward, the next one is changes in taste, preference, and consumer attitude. Changes in taste, preference, and consumer attitudes. Okay, now major role is played in terms of product designing, delivery, and accompanying services have direct influence on consumer taste and attitudes. Now, whenever in a very high competitive market, professionally managed firms are customer focused and they closely monitor any changes that takes place in consumer perception, could be in their attitude towards their products. Now, such consumer related factors are subjected to change over a period of time. Now, some of the main factors that bring about changes in taste and preference are the education level, the geographical mobility, fashion trends, and also the availability of products. Now, pattern of consumer taste also changes as his age advances. But among younger groups, these days major changes over relatively short period of time may be very much expected. Now this happens because we have very wide variety of products to choose from. A large number of youngsters quickly, turn towards smoking and drinking in recent time period. Now, consumers' perception, attitudes, and lifestyle are greatly influenced by advertising and results in changing taste and preferences. Now, the changes on the consumer side included changes in product, packaging, and presentation, making the environment more competitive. There are still more factors which would see in our next session at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I would take your attendance, and after that you can leave the class. Yes, you can leave the meeting for this session. I would be sending a link for the afternoon session. So please be back at 2 o'clock. Thank you, class.